Before we dive into this incredible journey together, I need to ask you something really important. What time is it where you are right now, and where in the world are you watching from? I'm asking because what I'm about to share with you tonight is going to challenge everything you think you know about sleep, dreams, and the incredible journeys your soul takes every single night. And I want you to be fully present for this, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how to remember these sacred travels that the ancient Egyptians mastered thousands of years ago. And more importantly, you're going to learn the secret techniques they used to bring back the wisdom, the healing, and the profound revelations from these nightly soul journeys that most people never even realize they're taking. Welcome back to the Eternal Library. You know, every single night when you close your eyes and drift off to sleep, you think you're just resting, recharging your body, maybe having some random dreams that don't mean much of anything. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie you've ever been taught? What if I revealed to you that the ancient Egyptians knew something about sleep that modern science is only just beginning to understand? And what if I showed you that there's a secret text, hidden away for thousands of years, that contains the exact methods for remembering where your soul travels every single night? Because here's the truth that they don't want you to know. Every time you fall asleep, your consciousness, your soul, your very essence leaves your physical body and embarks on incredible journeys through dimensions, realms, and realities that exist far beyond our three-dimensional world. And the ancient Egyptians not only knew this, they mastered it. They turned it into a sacred science, and they left behind detailed instructions on how you can do the same thing. But here's the secret. This knowledge was so powerful, so transformative, so dangerous to those who wanted to control humanity, that it was hidden away, buried in tombs, encoded in hieroglyphs, and scattered across ancient texts that most people will never see in their lifetime. But tonight, right here, right now, I'm going to share with you the most important discoveries from these secret Egyptian teachings, and I'm going to show you step by step how to unlock the ability to remember your soul's nightly journeys. Because what you're about to learn isn't just going to change how you sleep, it's going to revolutionize your entire understanding of who you are, why you're here, and what you're truly capable of achieving in this lifetime and beyond. The ancient Egyptians called it Baka travel, and they understood that what we call sleep is actually the most sacred time of our existence, the time when our soul, our Ba, separates from our physical vessel and travels through what they called the duat, the invisible realms that exist parallel to our physical world. And here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. They didn't see this as some mystical, uncontrollable experience that just happened randomly. No, they developed precise techniques, specific practices, and detailed methods for not only controlling these soul journeys but for remembering everything that happened during them. And they documented all of this in texts like the Papyrus of Ani, the coffin texts, and most importantly, in a secret collection of writings that archaeologists have only recently begun to understand, writings that reveal the exact process for what they called conscious sleep travel or awakened dreaming. But here's where it gets really incredible. These ancient masters understood that during sleep, your soul doesn't just wander around aimlessly. No, it follows specific pathways, it visits particular realms, and it connects with other souls, with guides, with teachers, and with aspects of yourself from past lives, parallel lives, and even future incarnations. And they knew that if you could learn to remember these journeys, if you could bring back the knowledge and wisdom gained during these travels, you would have access to unlimited healing, creativity, problem-solving abilities, and spiritual growth that would accelerate your evolution in ways that normal waking consciousness could never achieve. The problem is, and this is why this knowledge was hidden, when you return to your physical body each morning, there's what the Egyptians called the veil of forgetting that descends over your consciousness. And this veil is actually a protective mechanism designed to prevent your human mind from being overwhelmed by the vastness of what your soul experiences during these nightly journeys. But the ancient Egyptian priests and priestesses learned how to part this veil, how to pierce through the forgetting, and how to maintain a conscious connection between their sleeping soul travels and their waking awareness. And this is exactly what I'm going to teach you tonight. The secret begins with understanding what the Egyptians knew about the nature of consciousness itself. They recognized that consciousness isn't produced by your brain. Consciousness isn't contained within your physical body. Consciousness is actually a field, an energy, a living force that exists independently of your physical form. And your body is simply a temporary vehicle, a vessel that consciousness uses to experience this particular dimension of reality. And every night when you fall asleep, your consciousness, your soul essence, naturally expands beyond the limitations of your physical form and begins to explore the infinite realms of existence that are always there, always accessible, but invisible to your normal waking awareness. The ancient Egyptians mapped these realms with incredible precision. They knew that there were 7 primary levels of the duat, each corresponding to different aspects of spiritual development, healing, learning, and soul evolution. And they understood that depending on your level of spiritual advancement, your soul would travel to different levels during sleep, gathering different types of experiences, knowledge, and healing energy that would then be integrated back into your physical existence upon awakening. But here's the key: without the proper preparation, without the right techniques, without the secret methods that I'm about to share with you, most people wake up with no memory of these incredible journeys, no access to the wisdom they've gathered, and no ability to consciously direct where their soul travels or what experiences they have during these sacred hours of sleep. The first technique that the Egyptian priests used was something they called pre-sleep intention setting, and this wasn't just about deciding what you wanted to dream about. No, this was a precise ritual that involved aligning your consciousness with specific frequencies, specific energies, and specific realms that you wanted your soul to explore during the night. They would begin this process hours before sleep, using meditation, breathwork, sacred sounds, and visualization techniques to tune their consciousness like a radio dial, setting the exact frequency that would attract their soul to the realms and experiences that would serve their highest good and spiritual development. But the real secret, the technique that makes all the difference between random sleep experiences and conscious soul travel, lies in what the Egyptians called the bridge of remembering, and this is where their understanding becomes absolutely revolutionary. They discovered that there's a specific state of consciousness that exists between waking and sleeping, a liminal space that they called the threshold of the gods. And if you can learn to maintain awareness during this transition, if you can stay conscious as your soul begins to separate from your physical body, you create what they call the golden thread of continuity that connects your sleeping soul experiences with your waking memory. And here's how they did it. As they were falling asleep, they would repeat specific phrases, specific intentions, and specific requests to their higher self, their guides, and their soul essence, asking to remember their travels, asking to bring back the wisdom, asking to maintain the connection between their sleeping and waking consciousness. And they would do this not just with their minds, but with their entire being, with their hearts, with their souls, with every fiber of their existence focused on this single intention to remember. They also understood something that modern science is just beginning to discover, that your physical body position during sleep actually affects where your soul travels, how easily it can separate from your physical form, and how much memory you retain upon awakening. The ancient Egyptians had specific sleeping positions that they called soul flight positions, arrangements of the body that optimized the flow of spiritual energy, facilitated the separation of consciousness from physical form, and created the ideal conditions for conscious soul travel and dream recall. And these positions weren't random, they were based on thousands of years of experimentation, observation, and refinement by master practitioners who dedicated their entire lives to perfecting these techniques. The most powerful position they discovered was what they called the position of Ra's journey, where you lie on your back with your arms crossed over your chest, your hands placed on your heart chakra, your legs straight and slightly apart, and your head tilted slightly toward the east, the direction of the rising sun, the direction of spiritual awakening and consciousness expansion. In this position, they found that the natural energy flows of the body align with the cosmic currents of the earth and the heavens, creating what they called a bridge of light that makes it easier for the soul to travel while maintaining its connection to the physical body, and more importantly, maintaining the ability to remember these travels upon awakening. But position is just the beginning. The Egyptians also used what they called dream herbs, specific plants and natural substances that enhanced their ability to remember their soul travels. Substances like blue lotus, frankincense, myrrh, and other sacred plants that they would burn as incense, drink as teas, or place under their pillows to create what they called a remembering atmosphere, an energetic environment that supported conscious dreaming and soul travel recall. And these weren't just random plants. These were carefully selected substances that they discovered through thousands of years of experimentation had specific effects on consciousness, on memory formation, and on the ability to maintain awareness during the transition between waking and sleeping states. The blue lotus, for example, was considered so sacred that it was often depicted in tomb paintings and religious ceremonies, and modern research has shown that it contains compounds that naturally enhance dream recall, increase the vividness of dream experiences, and promote what scientists call lucid dreaming, the ability to become conscious within the dream state. And this is exactly what the ancient Egyptians were achieving thousands of years ago. But here's where their knowledge becomes truly extraordinary. They didn't just want to remember their dreams. They didn't just want to have vivid sleep experiences. They wanted to consciously direct their soul travels. They wanted to choose where they went, what they learned, and who they met during these nightly journeys. And they developed techniques for doing exactly that. One of the most powerful methods they used was something they called soul navigation, where they would create detailed mental maps of the spiritual realms before falling asleep, visualizing specific locations, specific teachers, specific healing temples, and specific experiences that they wanted their soul to visit during the night. And they would practice this visualization so intensely, so vividly, that their consciousness would naturally be drawn to these locations during sleep, like a magnet attracting iron, like a river flowing toward the ocean. Their prepared intention would guide their soul directly to the experiences that would serve their highest good and spiritual development. They also understood that the time of night when you fall asleep affects where your soul travels. They discovered that different hours of the night correspond to different realms, different types of experiences, and different levels of spiritual teaching, and they would carefully time their sleep to align with the cosmic cycles and spiritual energies that would support their specific intentions and goals. For example, they found that souls who fell asleep during the first 3 hours after sunset were more likely to travel to healing realms, to places of physical and emotional restoration, while souls who fell asleep in the deep hours of the night, between midnight and 3 a.m., were more likely to travel to realms of higher spiritual teaching, to meetings with ascended masters, guides, and advanced souls who could provide profound wisdom and spiritual guidance. The secret Egyptian text that I mentioned at the beginning reveals something even more incredible. It contains specific invocations, specific prayers, and specific requests that the priests would make before sleep to ensure not only that they remembered their soul travels, but that they brought back specific types of healing, knowledge, and spiritual gifts that they could use in their waking life. One of the most powerful invocations translates roughly to, "O great Ra, Lord of the Eternal Light, as my soul prepares to journey through the sacred duat, grant me the gift of remembering, grant me the ability to bring back the treasures of wisdom that I gather in your holy realms. Let the golden thread of consciousness connect my sleeping travels with my waking awareness, and let me return each morning with the healing, the knowledge, and the spiritual gifts that will serve not only my own evolution but the evolution of all souls who are ready to receive these sacred teachings." And they would repeat this invocation not just once, but multiple times as they were falling asleep, embedding it so deeply into their consciousness that it became like a spiritual GPS system, guiding their soul travels and ensuring their memory recall upon awakening. But the most remarkable discovery in these ancient texts is the revelation of what they called soul travel partnerships. where 2 or more advanced practitioners would agree to meet in specific locations during their sleep travels, to learn together, to heal together, and to bring back shared experiences and knowledge that they could verify and confirm with each other upon awakening. And the texts contain detailed accounts of these shared journeys. These mutual soul travels were multiple. People would visit the same spiritual realms, meet the same teachers, receive the same teachings, and return with identical memories and experiences that they could validate with each other, providing undeniable proof that these weren't just dreams or fantasies, but actual journeys of consciousness through real spiritual dimensions. The Egyptian masters also discovered that your emotional and spiritual state before sleep dramatically affects both where your soul travels and how much you remember upon awakening. They found that souls carrying heavy emotional burdens, unresolved traumas, or spiritual blockages would often travel to what they called healing chambers, spiritual realms specifically designed for emotional and energetic cleansing, while souls who were in states of joy, gratitude, and spiritual alignment would travel to what they called wisdom temples, realms of higher learning where advanced spiritual knowledge was transmitted directly to the soul. And this is why they developed elaborate pre-sleep purification rituals, ceremonies involving prayer, meditation, energy clearing, and spiritual preparation that would ensure their souls were in the optimal state for the highest level of spiritual travel and learning. One of the most powerful purification techniques they used was something they called the 4 directions clearing, where they would face each cardinal direction, starting with the east, the direction of new beginnings and spiritual awakening, and they would release any fears, doubts, or negative energies that might interfere with their soul travels. Then they would turn to the south, the direction of power and manifestation, and set their intentions for what they wanted to learn and experience during their nightly journey. Then to the west, the direction of introspection and wisdom, where they would ask for the guidance and protection of their spiritual guides and teachers. And finally to the north, the direction of mystery and the unknown, where they would surrender their ego and open themselves completely to whatever experiences would serve their highest good and spiritual evolution. The texts also reveal that the ancient Egyptians understood the importance of what happens immediately upon awakening. They knew that the first few minutes after waking are critical for memory retention, and they developed specific techniques for capturing and preserving the memories of their soul travels before the veil of forgetting could descend. The moment they opened their eyes, before moving their bodies, before thinking about their daily responsibilities, they would lie perfectly still and use a technique they called reverse traveling, where they would mentally retrace their soul's journey backwards from the moment of awakening, following the golden thread of memory back through their travels, visiting each location, each encounter, each teaching in reverse order. And as they did this, they would speak aloud what they were remembering, describing their experiences in vivid detail to anchor these memories in their waking consciousness. And then they would immediately record these experiences in what they called their dream papyrus, detailed journals where they documented their soul travels, the teachings they received, the healing they experienced, and the spiritual guidance they gathered during these nightly journeys. But here's what makes this even more incredible. The Egyptian priests discovered that by consistently practicing these techniques, by regularly traveling consciously during sleep and remembering their experiences upon awakening, they were actually rewiring their brains. They were creating new neural pathways that made it easier and easier to remember their soul travels, until eventually they reached a state where they maintained continuous consciousness between their waking and sleeping experiences, where there was no gap, no forgetting, no loss of awareness as they transitioned between physical reality and spiritual realms. And this is what they called achieving the consciousness of the gods, the ultimate goal of their spiritual practice and the highest level of human evolution. The secret techniques I'm sharing with you tonight aren't just ancient history. They aren't just fascinating stories from a bygone era. These are practical, applicable methods that you can start using immediately to begin remembering your own soul travels, to start accessing the incredible wisdom, healing, and spiritual guidance that you're receiving every single night but forgetting every single morning. The first step is to begin tonight. right after you finish watching this video, with what I call the modern Egyptian preparation ritual, about an hour before you plan to go to sleep, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed, sit comfortably facing east if possible, and begin by taking 7 deep, slow breaths, allowing each exhale to release any tension, stress, or negative energy that you've accumulated during the day. As you breathe, set a clear, specific intention for your soul. Travel, asking your higher self, your guides, and your soul essence to take you to the realms and experiences that will serve your highest good, and asking specifically to remember these travels upon awakening. Then, using visualization, create a detailed mental image of yourself lying in bed, falling asleep, and watching as your soul, your consciousness, your luminous spiritual body gently separates from your physical form and begins to travel through realms of light, love, and infinite wisdom. See yourself moving through these realms with complete awareness, learning, healing, and gathering spiritual treasures that you will bring back to your waking consciousness. And as you visualize this, repeat the intention. I will remember my soul travels. I will bring back the wisdom. I will maintain the golden thread of consciousness between my sleeping journeys and my waking awareness. When you're ready to go to bed, assume the position of Ra's journey that I described earlier. Lie on your back with your arms crossed over your heart, your legs straight and slightly apart, your head tilted slightly toward the east, and as you're falling asleep, instead of letting your mind wander or drift off unconsciously, maintain a gentle awareness of the transition from waking to sleeping. Feel your body relaxing, feel your breathing deepening, feel your consciousness beginning to expand beyond the boundaries of your physical form, and as this happens, keep repeating your intention to remember, keep asking your soul to maintain the connection, keep requesting that the golden thread of awareness remain intact throughout the night. And here's a crucial point: don't try to force it, don't struggle to stay awake, don't create tension or resistance. Instead, allow yourself to drift into sleep while maintaining a gentle, loving intention to remember. Think of it like setting a spiritual alarm clock that will help you maintain awareness and memory throughout your soul's nightly journey. The moment you wake up, and this is absolutely critical, before you move your body, before you open your eyes fully, before you think about anything else, lie completely still and begin the reverse traveling technique. Start from the moment of awakening and mentally retrace your steps backwards through the night, following any fragments of memory, any images, any sensations, any feelings that you can recall from your sleep experience. And as you do this, speak aloud what you're remembering. Describe the images, the locations, the people, the feelings, the teachings. Even if it seems fragmented, even if it doesn't make complete sense, even if you only remember tiny pieces, speak it all aloud and then immediately write it down in a journal that you keep beside your bed specifically for this purpose. The ancient Egyptians knew something that modern science is just beginning to understand. That memory is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes, and the more you practice remembering your soul travels, the easier and more vivid these memories will become. They also understood that soul travel memory isn't like regular memory. It doesn't follow the same patterns or rules. Spiritual memories often come in symbols, metaphors, feelings, and impressions rather than clear, linear narratives. So don't expect your soul travel memories to be like watching a movie. Instead, expect them to be like receiving a spiritual download of energy, wisdom, and healing that gets translated through your human consciousness into images, sensations, and insights that you can understand and apply in your daily life. One of the most powerful aspects of these ancient techniques is that as you begin to remember your soul travels, you'll start to notice patterns, recurring locations, familiar spiritual teachers and guides, and consistent themes in your nightly journeys. The Egyptians called these soul missions, specific purposes and goals that your higher self is working on during sleep, specific healing, learning, or spiritual development that your soul is engaged in on the other side of the veil. And by becoming conscious of these patterns, by remembering and documenting your experiences, you can begin to actively participate in your soul's evolution, You can start asking specific questions, requesting specific types of healing or guidance, and directing your consciousness toward the experiences that will most benefit your spiritual growth and life purpose. The texts also reveal that advanced practitioners could actually influence physical reality through their soul travels. They could receive healing for their physical bodies. They could gain insights and solutions to problems in their daily lives. They could connect with departed loved ones. They could receive prophetic visions of future events, and they could even influence the dreams and soul travels of others through what they called dream weaving or consciousness bridging. And all of this wasn't considered supernatural or magical. It was simply understood as natural abilities of consciousness that become available when you learn to maintain awareness and memory during your soul's nightly journeys. But perhaps the most profound discovery that these ancient masters made was that regular, conscious soul travel fundamentally changes who you are as a person. When you begin to remember your nightly journeys, when you start to access the wisdom, healing, and spiritual guidance that you receive during sleep, when you realize that you're actually living two lives, one physical and one spiritual, existing simultaneously in multiple dimensions and realities, your entire perspective on life transforms, your fears dissolve, your spiritual abilities expand, your intuition heightens, your capacity for love and compassion increases, and you begin to live from a place of deep inner knowing and spiritual confidence that can't be shaken by external circumstances or challenges. The Egyptian masters called this transformation awakening to your eternal nature, the recognition that you are not just a physical being having a spiritual experience, but an eternal spiritual being having a human experience, and that your soul's nightly travels are actually your return to your true home, your natural state of existence, the realms of spirit where you continue your learning, healing, and evolution even while your physical body rests and regenerates. And once you realize this, once you begin to consciously participate in your soul's journey, once you start to remember and integrate the wisdom from both your physical and spiritual existence, you become what they call the bridge between worlds, a conscious being who can access and apply spiritual wisdom in physical reality, who can bring healing and light from the spiritual realms into the material world, and who can help others awaken to their own soul travel abilities and spiritual potential. The techniques I've shared with you tonight are just the beginning. They're the foundation practices that will help you start remembering your soul travels and accessing the incredible wisdom and healing that you're receiving every single night. But as you develop these abilities, as your memory and awareness expand, as you become more conscious of your spiritual journeys, you'll discover that there are advanced techniques, deeper levels of practice, and more profound spiritual realms that become available to you. The ancient Egyptians spent decades, sometimes entire lifetimes, perfecting their soul travel abilities, and they left behind detailed maps, advanced techniques, and profound wisdom that can guide you on this incredible spiritual journey of awakening to your true nature and potential. Remember, every single night when you fall asleep, you have the opportunity to embark on the most incredible spiritual adventure imaginable. You have the chance to visit realms of pure love and light, to meet with spiritual teachers and guides, to receive healing for your body, mind, and soul, to access wisdom and knowledge from the highest sources of consciousness, and to return each morning with spiritual treasures that can transform your life and accelerate your spiritual evolution in ways that you never imagined possible. The only thing standing between you and these incredible experiences is the veil of forgetting, the barrier between your sleeping and waking consciousness that can be dissolved through the ancient techniques that I've shared with you tonight. Start practicing these methods immediately. Begin tonight with the preparation ritual and the position of Ra's journey. Commit to maintaining the golden thread of awareness as you fall asleep, and most importantly, commit to the reverse traveling technique every single morning to capture and remember the incredible journeys that your soul takes every night. Because what you discover, what you remember, what you bring back from these travels won't just change your understanding of sleep and dreams, it will revolutionize your entire existence and awaken you to the magnificent spiritual being that you truly are. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember that you're not just going to rest, you're not just going to have some random dreams, You're about to embark on a sacred spiritual journey that has the power to heal, teach, inspire, and transform you in ways that your human mind can barely comprehend. And with the secret techniques from the ancient Egyptian masters that you now possess, you have the keys to unlock the memories of these incredible travels and bring back